Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to our podcast, A Lion Among the Sheep. Coach Scott with you today. It's a wonderful day here in South Florida. A little cloudy today, but it's nice and seasonally cooler than it's been. I hope everybody's been having a great week, and I'm flying solo today. Coach Jamie could not be with us today, so I am in the captain's chair, and I'm doing a solo flight here. So bear with me. I'm used to having my partner on board, but today he could not be with us, and I wanted to get this podcast out to you. It's got a lot of good information, I believe, that would be useful for you and to you. I see, I hope everybody's doing well. I have a lot of friends and followers up in the Northeast. I see a snowstorm is about to blow through later this week. First snow of the season. It's always a good experience. I do miss a little bit of snow, just a little bit. I see up in the Pacific Northwest, it's cloudy, gloomy, and rainy as usual for the winter time. But nevertheless, we're heading into the Thanksgiving season. It's a great day, great time to be thankful and realize that we have a tremendous amount of blessings. And let's take that spirit and thoughts as we go forward. Last podcast, we did a segment on the correlation and the benefits of physical fitness and cognitive acuity, cognitive sharpness. How do we keep sharp? We talked about the short term and the long term. And yes, there are a tremendous amount of benefits. There's as many benefits for the mental and cognitive acuity as there are physical, if not more. I think as we age and get in our 60s, 70s, 80s, it's more important, although you should have a good physical fitness foundation. The onset of dementia is just very, very prevalent in our society right now. It's very important that we combat that. And there are other ways we do. We'll talk about that in the segments. But, here's the deal. We talked about the importance. Next segment, I think we're going to talk about the physical importance of fitness. I think we all know them. I think they're apparent, but we're going to touch on that next segment. This segment is how do we get started? I have so many people come to me and say, how do you stay in shape at 60 years old? How do you get this way? And you know what? It's tough. I'm going to tell you. And I say the 3 C's of being a champion are be coachable, be consistent, and be committed. Without the 3 C's, you're not going to gain your goals and your objectives. So let's think about this. How do we become committed and consistent? Coachable, you just have a coach. You have somebody, hey, am I doing the right thing? What should I do to increase my heart rate? How do I build muscle mass? How do I lean up? And that's simple. That seems simple. What's the most difficult aspect of that is the consistency and the commitment. How do we remain committed? There are so many roadblocks we face in life that we just want to throw up our hands and say, I'm done. We hit, even when we start working out, it's an interesting thing. We work out, and for the first 4 or 5 weeks, we make phenomenal gains. It's not because we're getting stronger, our muscles, it's about neuroplasticity. We're making new neural pathways to our muscles. We're engaging more muscles. And here's something. When you start working out, if you're a couch potato, you think that minimal workouts, when you start getting in the gym, you only engage about 50, 60% of your muscle because you don't have those neural pathways that are transmitting the neurons to those muscles. And what happens over the first 4 or 5 weeks, you have that neuroplasticity. You generate new pathways and they start engaging more muscle. So from 50, 60, 70%, so we get stronger. What happens is within 4 to 6 weeks, you've already made those pathways. And now it's time for the cross-section area of your muscles to get bigger and stronger. And that takes longer. So here's what we do. It comes down to really the old willpower, the term willpower. How do we gain and sustain willpower? I know they say willpower and tenacity. How do you push through every day? And it's not easy. It's not easy. There's times that I drive to the gym after training some people, after playing tennis with people, and I sit in the car and I want to go home. I want to take a nap. I don't want to work out today. But you know what? How do I push myself past that? What is in my mindset that makes me get out of my car, get into the gym, and then most of the time when I get in the gym, I had the best workout ever. So how do we get that? Now, here's what's funny. We talked last week about the the hippocampus, which is deep within your side of your brain. And it really basically, the function is to control and increase your mental and cognitive acuity, your memory, spatial recognition, and to keep you sharp mentally. We talked about it last podcast. Similarly, there is this little organ, actually, it's a super small organ called the anterior mid cingulate cortex, short AMCC. It's the anterior mid cingulate cortex that really controls willpower and tenacity. Now, it's right, a lot of these brain functions, these within our organs within our brain, are in the frontal lobe, and that people will have frontal lobe issues. They have addiction problems, they have control problems. They're irrational. They have aggression. And if you look at the football players from these mass concussions, a lot of those damages has to do with the frontal lobe, CTE. So how do we then formulate strength in that AMCC, anterior mid cingulate cortex? And can we do it? Now, here's the thing. There's two schools of thought. Is willpower a finite measure, or is it infinite? Where is that? Now, there are schools of thought that say it's finite. And what happens is now let's go back. Our brain is the most metabolically active organ in our body. We use more energy in our brain than we do in any other organ in our body, including our muscles. So what fuels our metabolic systems? Glucose. Glucose fuels the metabolic systems in our brain and throughout our body. And I know if you are on a ketone diet, ketones do end up translating into that fuel. That's another topic for another day. So there's two schools of thought. And they've done studies where they have this one group do a hard task, then they gave them a glucose drink and had them do another hard task. They had another group do a hard task and they gave them a substitute for glucose. It was tasted identical, but it was no glucose. And then they had to do another hard task. And they found that the group that had the glucose in their system did measurably better than the group that did not have the glucose in it. But there's been other studies that actually conflict with that thought. And they say that it makes no difference. And that school of thought that willpower, tenacity is infinite. It's infinite. There is no bearing on what you take in your system. It's all within the AMCC. Now, I am from the school of thought. I think it's infinite. I don't care what I drink. I went to work out this morning. I had nothing in my system, and I had a hell of a workout. Okay, I played some tennis, coached some tennis, then went to the gym and had a hell of a strong workout. I had nothing in my system. I didn't need glucose. I pushed through it because I think willpower is infinite. I think it's ongoing and it's within your brain. Okay, so you have these triathletes who run phenomenally. You're telling me the gels they're taking is enough glucose to sustain them through a 2 mile swim, 100-mile bike ride in a marathon? It's not. I've done half marathons, half triathlons. It takes a lot. So what happens is this: the AMCC, I believe, and the studies really show that you can grow and strengthen the anterior mid cingulate cortex. Again, it is, first of all, it's the organ that is it's that part of the brain that is solely responsible for willpower and tenacity. Now you look at these people in the gym, how one person has willpower and tenacity, and the other one sits there on their phone. And it all comes down to how they basically exercised and conditioned that AMCC. And here's what's funny about it. You can increase the volume and the size of the anterior mid cingulate cortex. It's like any muscle. It's like the hippocampus, as we talked about last week. The more cardiovascular workout you do, the more you raise your heart rate, the more that hippocampus grows. And it increases cognitive acuity. And that one study I told you before, the high-end women, 10 years or longer, mental acuity and sharpness. This is the same with the AMCC. You can grow this AMCC. And how do you do that? How do we get better and better and better. Now, I'm going to look at some studies down there that talk about down below, that talk about the anterior mid-cingulate cortex and the belief system about if you believe. Now, here's one study. I want to go back and talk about the glucose. Here's one study that's pretty cool. It's if you believe, I think it was Carol Dweck did this study, but if you believe that it's all about belief systems. It's what we believe. It's like placebo. Someone gives you a drug and says, this is going to make you stronger, bigger, faster. You go out there, you're probably stronger, bigger, faster, temporarily. But it's all about what we believe, our belief system. So if you believe that you can do anything, you probably can do anything. So I'm going to send down, if you believe you need glucose, then you're going to do much better having glucose drinks between your workouts or to fuel your workout. So I'm going to attach that study and a couple other studies about the AMCC that I think are really interesting. If you want to take a look at it, please do. So how do we do this? Okay, we're in the gym. We see this. One guy's crazy working out. He's there every day at 9 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever, 5 o'clock, 8, whatever. He's there every day consistently. He's committed. How come he's committed? And I'm sitting there saying, what time is it? I want to get the hell out of here. I want to go home and eat. I'm hungry. And how do we do this? And it's not hard. It's like exercise. You have to have a goal. Your goal is to be super charged with willpower and tenacity. Your goal, physically, I want to bench press 225 pounds. Now, when you go into that bench press, you want to go run a half marathon. You're not going to start training for a half marathon by running 10 miles. Now, a half marathon, as well known, is 13.1 miles. You're not going to go and train and run 10 miles. You're going to start with a mile run and increasing 10% every week. It increases. The same with the fitness, physical, the weightlifting. You're not going to go and bench 2.25, take it off the rack and try. You're going to fail. So you're going to go in and start with 135 and build yourself up over time. That is the exact theory and the protocol we use to gain willpower and tenacity. We strengthen that by using it. And how do we use it? We do simple, small tasks that are hard, not difficult, okay? Not ridiculously difficult. It's not going to be solving a puzzle that's unsolvable, but to solve, do little things like wake up, make sure your bed's made, make sure your room's clean, make sure the dishes are all in the kitchen's clean before you leave for work and then go to the gym. Do these little small things over and over and over again. Now, make sure every day you do something differently. You know what? It's going to start building that AMCC. Now, another thing is to try and get out there outside your comfort zone. I love about being outside your comfort zone. I saw this young lady at the gym who I know very well. I coach her tennis. She does the same thing. No offense, Audrey, but she does the same thing every day. And I'm tweaking her tennis serves, and it's outside her comfort zone. But she's getting really good. And I told her today, we have to switch up your workout because you're doing the same thing. We got to get out of your comfort zone. So getting out of your comfort zone really does increase that because it makes you do something that's more difficult. And you probably don't want to do it, but it's more difficult. And that builds, just like it's going to build your muscle or your hippocampus. It's going to make you stronger. So I would do this. I would say, do something you've never done before. If you've always wanted to learn Spanish, you've always wanted to learn Russian, you've always wanted to learn, or for my Spanish speaking, better English, learn a language. That's difficult. Learn a language, go outside and start using that, doing small tasks. Now, listen, I'm learning Spanish, okay? I've been down to Florida. I've been back from Seattle on April 2nd, and my Spanish got terrible. So I just got Babbel. I'm starting to learn Spanish. And it's something that it's a task. It's a slightly difficult. It's not really difficult because I've known it before, but it's making me think. It's making me to overcome little obstacles, And so that is something we have to do: is use our brain, engaging in difficult, difficult little tasks outside your comfort zone. Pick up an instrument, learn an instrument, and I think also here's another thing: have more social interaction. And I see in this day and age that unfortunately, people aren't socially active. Now, they're not, I'm not a drinker. I'm not out at the bars. But you know what? Get involved in maybe church or some religious, church services and involved in your church. But I just believe, and I not that I believe, I know, and the studies show that you do these smaller tasks and translate them, transition them to more difficult tasks, that you're going to gain willpower. And it's not going to happen overnight. What does it say? They say some people say it takes 90 days to start a new habit. Some say, I don't know, 30 days. I think it takes 90 days. I think it takes a long time. And there are days I wake up and I'm late. I slept in. I hit the snooze button, which is a rarity. I hit the snooze button and I'm running out the door and I make my bed. Make sure my room is cleaned up. Make sure my dresser's cleaned up. My nightstand is cleaned up. There's small things like that. And honestly, it works. It works because so often, make sure your car is clean. Do little things, like I said. Make sure if you have a house and a lawn, make sure your lawn's mowed. Do that stuff and don't pawn it off to someone else to do it for you. Here's one thing I find that really helped me out. I do laundry and I always be in a rush. So I get out of the dryer and what I do, I would start throwing it on my bed. Like I'll fold it later and hang it up later. Now, one thing I've done is I make sure every task I engage, I complete that task. And that's another thing that's going to help you complete the tasks at hand. And you will find once you complete those tasks, you feel better about yourself. You've accomplished something. I know it sounds trivial, but you've accomplished trivial tasks. And once you accomplish trivial tasks, bigger and larger and the more difficult tasks get easier and easier. So remember, you can gain the willpower that David Goggins has, that these Army Rangers have, that these Navy SEALs have, that these ultra marathon runners have, these Ironman participants have. You can gain it. It just takes, like anything in life, if it's worthwhile, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment, and it takes consistency. So listen, I'm going to give you some more exercises. I want you to get out there and do this small, trivial tasks that are slightly difficult. I want to know how it works, okay? And see, it's not going to happen overnight. And then you're going to see going to the gym is not that hard because you're building up the anterior mid-cingulate cortex over time, little by little, making it stronger, making it more voluminous, making it bigger, and just having it engage itself. And that is the only part of the brain that controls willpower. So get out there, do that. Listen, next podcast, we're gonna have a bunch of new content. Coach Jamie will be back next time, and we're gonna do a one on the physical fitness, the benefits of physical fitness benefits, the physical benefits. Let me get that out of the fitness routine. And we're going to go over bone mineral density, not only different kinds of workouts, and we're going to have people come in and as guests down below, powerlifters, strongman lifters, Ironman participants, a tennis coach we're having coming up. So it's going to get really interesting. So hope you guys have a great day. Listen, we'll see you guys in the next couple of days. Coach Jamie will be back on board. We love you guys. Hey, if you like what we're doing, if you like where we're going, again, we're trying to promote lions among sheep. We're trying to give you willpower, tenacity to be a lion, not a sheep. Okay. If you like what we do, hit like, subscribe. We appreciate it. And hopefully it's beneficial to you and it's beneficial to us. God bless you guys. Have a great day. Have a great couple of days. And we'll back seeing you soon. Take care, everyone.
0, 1. Let's get started.